party peoples. Bobo here with BrassReel Bobby. Thanks for coming back for a little bit more hot, fresh popcorn. Today we're going to be talking about all the movie trailers that came out on Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah, so I know it's a day late, but, you know, it's when I could get to it. I got a bunch of other things going on right now. Got my movie that I'm working on with my partner, Andrew, short film, Lake Court, which I should have had a thumbnail of that in here. I can get one in a second, actually. Yeah, but that's actually going really well. In fact, yeah, here's the thumbnail right here. It's going to be a slasher in the vein of like Halloween 1978 meets Halloween 1996 or Scream 1996, if that makes any sense. So, with that being said, you guys look at that trailer's on my YouTube channel here. Just keep your eyes out for it. We got a GoFundMe going for it right now. If you want to check that out, feel free to add to it if you haven't already. And if you had, to anybody that's added to that and contributed, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. This movie's really coming along. Like, we've got a production manager, we've got a director of photography, we've got a gaffer. I mean, we're actually like trying to take the right steps to make this thing look quality, getting the proper camera equipment and everything. So I'm stoked. I know my boy Andrew's stoked, my partner Andrew. And shout out to Heather, if you're listening. She's our production manager. So, yeah, between me, Andrew, and Heather joining the team, really excited. Everything's sounding good. I feel like everything's all right. Just making sure it's all good here. Whoa. I don't know if you guys can hear that right there, but there's every now and then something goes on upstairs. It sounds like somebody's like got a jackhammer on the floor. It only lasts anywhere from like 5 seconds to 25 seconds, but it's like this. And sometimes it literally drives me crazy. Hang on 1 second, guys. I got to do one little thing here. There we go. I had my computer in a weird spot. Thought it was going to work or one of my computers in a weird spot. Thought it was going to work. So my audio stuff over on this side, kind of reset up some things as well, kind of getting a different angle for the live streams right now. And I said I was going to do more live streams just because I feel like it kind of brings some people in a little bit more, and it's kind of easier to just kind of get in a discussion rather than edit a full video down every time. And I like saving the edited videos from our reviews. I think that's a little bit more fun to edit the reviews down because that's a little bit more of a show and entertainment, whereas this is a little bit more informational and more of a discussion. So with that being said, the Super Bowl trailers. So I was, really pleased with most everything that I saw. I really enjoyed the halftime show. Thought it was really good. Took me back to the glory days from when I was in junior high and a teenager and stuff like that. But we got the main full trailers we did get a Jurassic World trailer, but I'm not going to discuss that one because I did a full trailer breakdown on that already. Like, I dedicated an entire video to that. So not going to discuss that one in this one. However, I am going to talk about Doctor Strange pretty intensely, and I'm going to talk about Nope pretty intensely. I'm going to cover the other ones. Not going to talk about Sonic. I don't care about Sonic 2. Sorry. I mean, the first one, it was good for what it was. It's definitely geared towards children, but I'm just not interested in discussing that. That's not my bag. I reported a little bit when Idris Elba was playing Knuckles, but that was just because it was kind of interesting to me. It was like, oh, look who's joining the team, old Idris. But as far as the trailers we got on Sunday, the main big ones, as far as spectacular, big budget, superhero-esque fantasy galore, we got the Moon Knight, the Doctor Strange, and the Power of the Rings, which I'm equally excited about all those. I definitely think I'm a little bit more excited about the Doctor Strange too. With that being said, though, let's just jump right into it. All right. So with Doctor Strange 2 coming out, Multiverse of Madness, first off, of course, I'm excited about it. It's Marvel. I'm definitely excited about it. It's superhero stuff. They're still going through the gamut. They're still running through the gamut of stories and core storylines out of the comic books that us nerds really love. And it's good stuff for them to pull from. So we're not running out of the material quite yet, but I feel like, and God, I don't want to say this too soon because I don't want anybody to be haters out there, but I feel like we're kind of getting a little too oversaturated in the Marvel world. And I feel like it's slightly because of the Disney shows. I think that's kind of like why that it's happening, the Disney Plus shows. Now, while those are good, and I really loved WandaVision, like to me, WandaVision was the best. Hawkeye being a close second, Loki being a third, and then Falcon Winter Soldier. It just is the style of it, the choices they took as far as the pace and everything. I'm not talking about the content. I'm not talking about the story and all that stuff. All that was fine. I'm not talking about Sam becoming Cap. None of that. I'm talking about, I just felt like it never got really rolling. Like by the end of WandaVision, I was like really into the storyline. Same thing with Hawkeye. I was really into the storyline, and Loki as well. But something about Falcon Winter Soldier, it just didn't reel me in like I wanted to. And I do feel like that Marvel is starting to slightly expect you just to sort of accept things. They don't explain things in depth like they used to. Now, we know that Multiverse of Madness is going to be a full-on, it's a madness. It's going to be people all over the place in this movie. And I think they are pulling from a bunch of different multiverses in this, again, just like they did with No Way Home. Now, while I did like No Way Home a lot, and I said some really good things about it when it first came out, and I saw it a few times, as time has passed, as I've watched some other Spider-Man movies after No Way Home, trying to compare them, it's not my favorite now. It's definitely had some time to simmer. I still think it was great. I still love it. And overall, I'm very happy with the movie. But I feel like they could have worked on that movie just for like a year longer before they really started production, like really tightened up some of the screws with I just feel like there's plot holes all up in it. And just sort of the idea of like Ned being able to do magic just like that, just all of a sudden he can just do magic, and they don't really dive into why and how. And they just expect you to just sort of buy it. They just expect you, and check this out. Ned is good at magic too. And then the Doctor Strange sort of says something like, oh, you can do spells? Like they're going to get to that down the road, which I'm great with foreshadowing. I like building up this world, but I don't want it to be so oversaturated to where it's just like, it's a dime a dozen. You know, what the old saying is, and it's like, in a world full of superheroes, nobody's super anymore. It's just everybody's, it seems normal, and you're used to it. So with Marvel going so quickly with them sort of, and I guess they go really fast with the exposition in their movies now. And it doesn't make you slow down enough. And they didn't always do that. In the previous films, they definitely, I mean, I even say all the way up to Endgame, even Far From Home, everything was really solid, but I feel like maybe Far From Home was sort of the start of this faster paced Marvel storytelling to where it's just, now we're really rolling through it. So I am excited to see all these different things that could happen in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. One, it's directed by Sam Raimi, so that's great. And we know there's going to be all these different, like, Stephen Strange is in there. You can see all these different variations. It looks like maybe even like an evil zombie aspiration at some point. But all that's fine, and I'm great with that. But there's rumors that Loki's supposed to be in this, and it makes sense because if you saw the Loki TV show, which spoiler alert, if you did see the Loki TV show, multiverses get all jacked within that, and Kang the Conqueror, or at least He Who Remains, a version of Kang, a variant of Kang, is in that. But Kang the Conqueror, the real Kang, is going to be the villain in Quantumania. So I don't know if Loki's going to be in that or if Loki's going to be in this, but he has been rumored to be in Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. And I do feel like that they need to connect them a little somehow or another. And that's another thing. Is Peter going to have anything to do with Multiverse of Madness? Maybe not. I mean, I thought he was, but the way it kind of ended and No Way Home made it seem like, because, nobody knows who Spider-Man is now. Like Doctor Strange doesn't know. So I'm just curious to where it's going to go moving forward. And this is kind of getting a little off topic, but just recently, Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal have kind of admitted and come out and said that they are working on a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, and it's a Marvel Sony conglomerate. It's another team up movie like they did with the first 3 Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. So, or these last 3 Spider-Man movies. So I'm just curious, are they going to try to tell the story of Peter existing in the Marvel world? Because the whole idea that I thought is that he was sort of exiting the MCU. Like he wasn't dying, but with this multiverse thing happening and everything, it was a way to sort of allow him to exit back into the Sony Spider-Man solo films. And like, because they're making Morbius, they're doing all these other things. God, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but they're doing Morbius, they're doing all these other things. They got a Craven movie coming out. Obviously, we've got Venom, the 2 Venom movies. Something's going on with Venom because we saw that at the end of No Way Home as well. I don't know. It's just, I'm really not sure. At one point, I was very sure of what they were going to be doing. But now I'm not sure what the MCU and Sony has up their sleeve. If they're going to incorporate more Sony characters into the MCU. And I say Sony characters, I mean the Marvel characters that Sony owns, which are all Spider-Man related characters. So we know that Wanda is in it. Sorry. We know that Wanda is in it for sure because she's all over the trailer. And there's even some scenes, some really cool scenes of her that it looks like the same thing of WandaVision, or like in the house that they had in WandaVision. And it looks like Wanda talking to herself. So I don't know if it's a variant Wanda talking to a Wanda or what. Was that Esmaniac? Hey, how you doing, man? I just got a comment from Esmaniac. Esmaniac says I look about 25. Is that right? I look 25 years old. Psh, I'll take it if that's what you're saying. But I'm just not sure if I feel like that because Wanda's going to be a variant in it and they're doing all this magic that we are, and Loki, the possibility of Loki being involved. I think all kind of crazy stuff is going to go down in this. And I do really feel like that there's a chance it could be oversaturated. I don't want, like, one of the things, and my buddy Asmaniac and I were talking recently. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. He just sent me another comment. One of the things that my buddy Asmaniac and I have been talking about lately is that these characters, I don't know, it just, with the cameos and everything showing up and Wanda and Spider-Man, it just seems like they're not thinking it out. And I think that there's just a chance that it could just be kind of a bummer if the way it all ends out, and it just sort of be like, I hate to say this, but Spider-Man No Way Home, it just does have some holes in there a little bit. And I don't want them to just jump on this sort of multiverse train to do it just to add characters. I feel like the stories do need to make sense. I'm not saying that I don't like these yet by any means, because I do like them. I think they're great. But I don't want them just to be I don't want these movies to become strictly fan service. I mean, what was great about the original films, all leading up to Endgame, is for the most part, they're all solid movies. Like they're superhero films. Like that's a bonus, but they're really well-crafted films. They have heart to them. You know, some of them are more comedy geared. Some of them are more action geared. Some of them are more techie geared, you know. It's just like Captain America trilogy has a very different vibe than the Iron Man trilogy. I mean, I've said this before. The Thor has that mythological thing going on. But now I feel like that I don't want to say that they're all blending together, but I feel like that there is some sort of, they're just not feeling so significant like they were initially. And again, that could be because we're just getting it shoved down our throats with the shows. I mean, now it's just Marvel is a genre. I mean, people who didn't have any idea who Marvel or what Marvel was before these films started, now people are aware of Marvel. Or people that I call the casuals, you know, we've referred to those in the past as, you know, casuals, people that aren't nerds like us. Casuals know Marvel now. See, I got some comments right here. So, as Maniac says, without Thanos, they have no direction. I mean, you might have something there, but Thanos, here's the deal. Thanos is not the greatest villain in Marvel ever. Thanos is definitely an awesome villain, and he is great, but he's not the craziest thing that's ever happened. I just, I think the way that they built Thanos up, the way those films sort of organically built themselves up, now that they have such a ton of money to play with, and they're just like, all right, we got these major ideas, and now we can just do it. I'm not sure that that's a good thing, because I feel like some of the heart from these movies came from them just like, all right, man, we're really gonna try to do it with this one movie, and really, I don't know. I just think there's something to that. You know, like when a restaurant chain grows really big, something's lost from the initial sort of allure that you liked about it, or the glamour that it had initially. But when it gets so big, it's just like, people said that about Gucci. That's even part of the movie. It's like, oh yeah, maybe they did get a little too big for the britches. Now nobody takes them seriously. Oh, I know you never said without a villain. I'm just talking about, you said without a Thanos. So I thought you were saying Thanos specifically, like without Thanos, they're nothing. Um, anyways, man, something's wrong with my chat deal here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix it here, but it's not anyways, I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to focus on that, but I'll fix that in a little bit. But one of the other things though I'm worried about is, again, them focus too much on cameos, because we definitely hear Patrick Stewart at the end of this thing. Like at the end of the trailer, we hear him talking, and I mean, it sounds like Patrick Stewart. Now, let me show you guys something here real quick. I'm going to try to share a screen here. Let me find it. Oh, I guess I got to raise this up here. Oh, there we go. Oh, here we are. So if you look at, it's got Rachel McAdams is obviously Christine Paul or whatever. Elizabeth Olsen is Wanda. Got Benedict Cumberbatch, obviously. America Chavez is, which we see her in there as well. She's a newer character that's come out. It doesn't show the girl that plays Monica Rambeau, but I think that she's supposed to be maybe a Captain Marvel in this movie. So one of the things that I saw is that it does look like that Captain Marvel is flying around in this movie. And there's one spot, and again, I thought I had this shot pulled up, and I thought that I'd uploaded this to my deal, but there is a picture of, it looks like Captain Marvel soaring through the sky and just but I think it might be Monica Rambeau. It's a variant of Captain Marvel again, and they just start going too much with this variant stuff, and it just starts, like, if they just start spewing variants all over the place, it just isn't going to be so significant anymore. All right, now my chats are working again. Okay, no, I got you. Paul's saying that it just needs a villain. Yeah, an overarching villain. Well, I can't tell if they're sort of building up to something with that, because at the end of Shang-Chi, it does seem like Wong and everybody, like Wong's had a lot of presence recently in a bunch of things, and it does seem like Wong is coming up with some stuff. So he just might they might be leading to some sort of more galactic villain, and then we might get the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming into play, and then we do have Thor Love and Thunder coming out. So I don't know. It's just theories, but I mean, I do feel like that initially in the original films, we did have sort of at the end, or somehow or another, we were always hearing about Thanos somehow or another. So we're definitely not hearing about another villain like we were sort of getting these glimpses of Thanos, or people talking about Thanos, or it was an end credit scene with, hinting at Thanos, or you know what I'm saying? We didn't have that in this new stuff so far going on. But I think a lot of that is because they're spreading it so thin. Like we got this whole Kingpin thing that happened in Hawkeye, which was cool, but I need a little more. I mean, I know we're going to get more because Daredevil's been fully, affirmed. But that's another thing. Now Daredevil doesn't know who Spider-Man is or anything like that. And so I felt like that was kind of a cool way for him to come into the storyline, but now nobody knows who Spider-Man is anymore. And I don't know. I'm just really confused at how it's all going to go. Like, I'm wondering, has Marvel gotten themselves into a little spot and they don't know how to back themselves out of it? I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just wondering. So moving on though, with Doctor Strange 2, I am very excited about it. It does look cool, and it is directed by Sam Raimi at the end of the day. And I'm hoping that they give Sam Raimi the free reign that he deserves as a filmmaker, because everything that he's done, whether it be a big budget or a smaller budget, I've loved most of it. To be honest, the one real thing of his that I just didn't, it was distracting for me, was Drag Me to Hell. Now, hear me out. I like that story, and I think it's well acted, and I think that it's a great idea and all that stuff. But two things: it was PG-13, when it shouldn't be, and there was way too much CGI gore. The gore in that, blood splattered everywhere, was just so CGI filled that that and Silent Hill are probably some of the two most distracting CGI horror movies I've ever seen, because it's like, you guys kind of have a really good concept and things going well here, but it's so distracting with the CGI gore. I can't handle it. So moving forward though, from a Marvel thing and stay in Marvel, we also saw the Moon Knight trailer. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Moon Knight. Again, Marvel is bringing all these characters out to the forefront that were never big characters. They're becoming household names now. People are starting, like, here in a couple years, you're going to have kids that are Moon Knight fans that are, in the year 2024, you're going to have new Moon Knight fans. And, you hadn't had a new Moon Knight fan in forever. I mean, Moon Knight is definitely one of the more obscure characters. He's been referred to as like Marvel's Batman. Real quick, let me just pause. I got another comment from Asmaniac. He's like, I actually thought that was Patrick Stewart. So you're saying at the end, when you watch the trailer without knowing or looking it up, you thought that sounded like Patrick Stewart? Because, I mean, once you hear somebody say that's Patrick Stewart, then you're like, oh yeah, it sure is. You can't unhear it. So I'm just curious to see how all this is going to unfold. If this is the way they're going to introduce the X-Men. Well, so I don't think that Captain Marvel is, I'm really not sure what the presence is with her, but I think it might be Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel. It might be like a variant from another multiverse. And it's like, in this multiverse, Monica Rambeau might be Captain Marvel. And it makes sense because she's connected to the WandaVision storyline. And so that's what I'm thinking that they're doing with this. Let me see here. Let me pull this down again. I think I know. There we go. Yeah, you're saying it sounded like him for sure. It definitely did. Definitely sounded like Patrick Stewart at the end there. Sorry, I'm just having trouble with there's something hanging up on my streaming deal to where there's certain comments I'm not able to see. Now I got it figured out though. But with Moon Knight, getting back to Moon Knight, like I said, he's always been referred to as sort of like Marvel's Batman. A lot of people have compared him to that. And in fact, even right here, you can see in this little article I'm going to show you right here. It says Moon Knight is regularly compared to Batman right there. So what it is that he is a rich guy. He's got money, but he's crazy. Like I don't know if that's the other thing that's obscure about Moon Knight. He's never really been figured out. His character's always been slightly open for interpretation because he has like these three identities. One of it comes from this sort of like Egyptian curse, the Moon Knight curse. But at certain points, he thinks he's somebody else, this Mark Spector guy. And it goes back and forth between multiple characters. And they've sort of shown that in the trailers that, yeah, it looks like Oscar Isaac's going crazy, and Oscar Isaac is playing this guy. And I mean, again, I thought I had something uploaded of Oscar Isaac, but I don't. But one of the things I really like is these days they are getting extremely comic accurate with the costumes. So this is the costume right here of Moon Knight in the comics. This is the costume of Moon Knight right there. There's another one of Moon Knight. And like I said, he's a very dark character. He's very violent. He kills. And one of the things that I'm amazed at is how comic accurate they're getting in this movie. I mean, look at this. That is super comic accurate. And right there, super comic accurate. And they used to not do that. They used to, in these movies, they used to sort of try to mess around with them and get them into some sort of slightly realistic look. It's like they changed something up. It's like, oh, it wouldn't be this, it would be this in real life. Like X-Men is a perfect example. They changed all the X-Men costumes from straight up spandex to this like black leather kind of military armored looking stuff, which, it made sense. But now for some reason, it's just been able to be done in a way to where it kind of works. See, as Maniac says, Moon Knight seems like a dumb character. We are oversaturated with characters at the moment. So look, Moon Knight's not a dumb character. He's a cool character, but I do agree with you. We are oversaturated with characters at the moment. If Moon Knight would have come out a while back when you'd get 2 or 3 movies a year that were superhero films, it would have been more accepted. But now it's like the way they're releasing Moon Knight into the Disney Plus world, into the MCU world now, they're releasing him and he's going to be, again, you'll have people that like him, but he's going to be slightly thought of, in my opinion, he's going to be slightly thought of as a backup Marvel character, the way he's kind of always been thought of in the comic books. Now, don't get me wrong. You have hardcore Moon Knight lovers out there. In fact, some of the Moon Knight lovers are more hardcore about Moon Knight than hardcore Batman fans are. However, there's just not a ton of them. He's liked, and he's like this underdog character in the comic books. He really is. And he's a cool character. I like him a lot, but he's just never been in the front lines and never gained the popularity that something like Batman or Wolverine or Venom, Spider-Man, all that stuff. But you know what? Captain America didn't have that popularity a while back, but these movies single-handedly brought Captain America and Iron Man back to the forefront. And they were already big with comic book fans. It wasn't like if you were a Batman fan and you were an avid comic book reader, you were reading Captain America, you were reading Iron Man. But society that weren't comic book readers, that just were movie watchers, they saw Spider-Man, they saw Batman, they saw the X-Men movies and stuff like that, but they didn't know anything about Captain America. But the movies made it happen. You see what I'm saying? And so, but now, I mean, Captain America and Iron Man are definitely bigger than they've ever been, in my opinion. I say that maybe at the height of Endgame, they were bigger than they ever been. Maybe they're dying down a little bit. But so I got Andrew Edwards texting in right here. If DC can make Peacemaker work, who knows what something like Moon Knight. Hey, you're right. You're right on that, because I'll say this, man, Peacemaker is awesome. Peacemaker is excellent. Now, look, I'm only on episode 5 of Peacemaker, so don't spoil anything. But I just got past the gorilla scene. I'll just say that. But Peacemaker is fantastic. In fact, Peacemaker, I'm getting off topic here, but Peacemaker is definitely one of the best shows that's been released in a long time. Very, very good. And look, as Maniac says it right as well, DC ain't afraid to make things 18. That is the thing about Warner Brothers that they have on Marvel. Now Marvel can release stuff through their 20th Century Studios avenue, things like that are R-rated. For example, Disney owns Predator, Alien, things like that. You're not going to start seeing PG-13 Alien movies and stuff like that. They did that with the Predator versus Alien 1 movie. That was just a cash grab. But as far as the Predator character and all that, those are always going to be R-rated movies under that 20th Century's umbrella. They just got rid of the Fox name. However, I'm not sure that they're going to take these characters that are the MCU characters and put them in that R-rated world. I'm with you. And DC isn't afraid to do that. I mean, now it worked very well with Joker. And Suicide Squad was just released at the wrong time, in my opinion. I'm talking about the James Gunn one. It was just released right at a weird time at COVID, and you had it being released on HBO Max at the same time. Still was really good though, and it was R-rated, and that partly is what made it a lot of fun, was the R-rated humor, the R-rated violence, all that stuff. And Peacemaker definitely wouldn't be as good if it wasn't this R-rated tone. And I'm not saying it has to be full of just vulgar humor, but it needs to have an adult tone. It doesn't need to have this childish approach. Now, Marvel does a good job, and the MCU movies do a good job at making them kind of hybrid. You know, they do adult stuff, humor here and there, some under the table stuff, kind of the same way Pixar does it, to where everybody can enjoy it. But it is cool that Peacemaker is like, it's not for kids. It's not designed for kids. Now, are kids watching it? Of course they are, but it's not aimed and put out there for kids. But it is kind of funny that there are Peacemaker toys in the kids section of Walmart and Target and things like that. And then this show is out with Peacemaker, and it's extremely like triple R rated, you know? But yeah, that's enough about Peacemaker. I didn't mean to get off on that rant on Peacemaker. It's just, I really, since Andrew brought up Peacemaker, I had to start talking about it, because it is kudos to James Gunn on that show and all the other people involved, which, by the way, I noticed that Jody Hill directed an episode of that. And Jody Hill's one of the team involved with the Eastbound and Down crew, Righteous Gemstones, with David Gordon Green and all of them, which all HBO Max as well. So kudos to those guys, because I mean, I'd say even some of James Gunn's best stuff. Now, it's different. It's definitely a little bit more personal, but it does get a little wacky as well. You know, it is still in the DC world of superheroes. I like how they talk trash about Batman and all these other superheroes and stuff. He starts talking about, you know, trash about Superman. Just really, to me, really well written, very enjoyable. As Maniac says, he wants a Peacemaker toy. Dude, I promise you, they're out there. You just got to get your hands on one. I'll try to find one over here and send it to you. It'll only cost $100 in shipping. As Maniac lives overseas. Don't worry, I'm not going to give him your address. So with that being said, let's just get back to Moon Knight for a second. I'm excited about this because it's a darker character for Marvel, and I'm excited to see how dark they take it. However, it's kind of like when they said that Doctor Strange 2 will be the scariest MCU movie yet. Well, it's like, okay, scary MCU movie, but what does that mean? How scary is that? It's like them saying Pixar is going to make a scary movie. Well, yeah, a scary movie that's still going to be rated G or PG. You know what I mean? So we'll see. They could be taking a step forward now with this. They could, because of Doctor Strange into the multiverse or Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Because of that, supposed to be having more of a scary kind of horrific tone and sense, because, you know, Sam Raimi's doing it. He's horror roots. Maybe with Moon Knight, they are going to take it in that direction as well. I would like him to, because like I said, Moon Knight is a dark character. Moon Knight is twisted. He's disturbed. He's got mental issues. So if they touch on that in the comics they touch on that in the movie the way they did in the comics, or in the show the way they did the comics, I'll be satisfied. So getting to one that's got me really intrigued, and the last one, because like I said, I'm not going to talk about, oh, you know what? I say the last one. There's one that I forgot to talk about, and then we'll get to the last one. So this one, slightly intrigued about it, but first off, I'm definitely intrigued that it is the most expensive television show ever. From what's being recorded and everything that I've read, it is going down in history already as like hands down the most expensive television show ever made. Now, a lot of that has to do with the rights, the money they spent on the rights to this, because Amazon, which is what this is being released on, Amazon bought the rights to this before they spent a day or a moment, before they even had a shred of footage filmed. They spent $400+ million on the rights to this. So, which means they're going to be doing something with it for years and years and years to come. So I don't know if Power of the Rings is going to have seasons or if they're going to have multiple seasons and Power of the Rings is the first season and then the next season is going to be called something else. But you're going to be seeing Lord of the Rings stuff like crazy in this, in Amazon, like a lot. Lord of the Rings will be a big deal for a long time coming. Like it ain't going nowhere. And I'm excited about that because I'm one of those take it or leave it on Middle Earth things, or take it or leave it when it comes to medieval stuff or that kind of fantasy like Skyrim, ESO type stuff. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. Like Game of Thrones was a version that I loved, but then sometimes it's just like I'm over. Like for some reason, I just don't need to see medieval films and stuff like that all the time. But when it's a lot of magic involved, or for example, like the show on Amazon Prime now, the Lost Wheel, or the Last Wheel, or Wheel of Time, that's it. Started trying to watch that, and I just couldn't get into it. It just didn't interest me. But for some reason, Lord of the Rings works for me. I don't know what it is. I like the depth of the story and how deep it goes. The lore is really thick and rich, and they usually give you the characters to grab onto. It's not just based around magic. So I think there's a possibility that this could be really cool and entertaining. Like I said, it's not like they're not spending money on it. It's not like, if this were coming out on NBC, I'd be like, oh, great. This is going to be terrible. If this was a CW show, terrible. But it ain't. It's Amazon, and Amazon has the money to do whatever they want. I mean, they truly do. They're not the biggest conglomerate out there, but they're in the ballpark of them. So real quick, backing up, Andrew Edwards says Moon Knight is the Darkwing Duck of the MCU. That's funny. I mean, yeah. Who's to say that Darkwing Duck wasn't sort of created off of Moon Knight / Batman or inspired by that? But it looks like Asmaniac says it will knock Waterworld off the top. I hope it is a hit. Yeah. Well, as far as the Lord of the Rings deal, yeah. I mean, Waterworld went over like $300 something million over, or it was like $300 something million, but it went $100 million or something over budget. But yeah, that was one movie. This one, they spent $400 something million just for the rights, just to say, okay, thanks for giving this to us for the $400 million. Now we can do something with it. Let's start spending money on that. Just crazy to me. As far as the writers, as Maniac's asking, they got good writers. I'm not sure really who the creators and writers are of it behind it right now, but I would assume that they vetted pretty hardcore when it comes to Lord of the Rings, because you don't drop $400 million or $400+ million on something without having good reins on it. You know what I mean? You got to have to know that, yes, we have some solid people working on this. And honestly, in my experience, and I say my experience, I'm talking about my experience with watching these things being taken over by other people. And when you have new franchises being controlled by new people, as long as they do have good writers, that's the main part. As long as you develop characters and situations that are intriguing and juicy, make you really want to just like tune in every episode, because this will be a weekly episode thing. This isn't going to be something you can binge. I think that it doesn't matter if you're from the fictional genre. You just have to be a good writer. Now, while it helps to have like a consultant on there to be like, no, but this is the type of stuff that they would use. You do need to have all that input. But as far as creatively where the story takes itself, you just have to have somebody that knows how to write a good story. And then that's the key thing. And all the other things can come into place. The CG and all that stuff can come into place. But you have to have, it's kind of like when Iron Man says to Spider-Man and Spider-Man Homecoming, when Peter's just like, oh man, but I'm nothing without the suit. And he's like, if you're nothing without the suit, you don't deserve to have it. And it's like, that's kind of what it is. Yeah, I don't think as Maniac says, I'm hoping that Peter Jackson's moved on from the first trilogy. Was epic, but get some fresh ideas for this. Yes, I don't think that he has anything to do with it, actually, because it was originally, while it was put out there by Warner Brothers and distributed, it was New Line that actually made the movie. Warner Brothers is just, because I think New Line was like conglomerate or an affiliate or something of Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers distributed Lord of the Rings, but it was, I think Warner Brothers distributed, but maybe not. But I know New Line definitely fully, it was their movie. And which in fact, it was like the thing that made New Line really blow up, like fully financially, because they spent like $300 million on all three films, not 300 million a piece, like 300 on all three. So they, of course, they made over that much just on the first movie, like way over that much. So those were made a ton of money, and not only that, merchandising, video games, just everything. But I'm hoping that's going to be good. The trailers, were slightly vague. I'll show you this right here. It's got everybody in it. As far as the characters, like old school, like Sauron is going to be in it. Now, I say everybody, I don't mean like the actors. I'm talking about the characters. So Sauron's in it. Elrond, who was played by Hugo Weaving. Aragon is in it, which that's going to be pretty cool, I think. Again, they're showing pictures of Viggo Mortensen, but he's not going to be in it. This is a prequel, like way before. But I think that you have to have some sort of connective tissue like that to make it feel right. Like, I do think prequels with just all new characters can work sometimes, but to have a little bit of connective tissue is, to me, necessary. Doesn't look like Gandalf is on here, but that doesn't mean anything. This is all new. The show still has a long way before it comes out. But moving on. So this is the one that I'm really kind of like, and as we should be, is Nope. Jordan Peele's new one. Oh, hang on. Before I get started, I got a comment here. Let me see what this one says. All right. So this is going to be about Lord of the Rings. It looks like Andrew says, my only hope is that, hang on, let me move this around just a second. My only hope is that although it's a prequel, that they don't feel obligated to make everything a setup for how things played out in the movies. I just want good, unique stories set in this world. Could not have said it better myself. They just need to make good writing, make the stuff compelling. And another thing that I like that I think is something that's really smart, and I think that they did this well in the new Halloween movies, and you might disagree with me, but they slow things down a little bit. They don't just try to cover so much territory. Like, slow it down. Put us in a situation of a 3 or 4 hour period and make that an episode. You don't have to make it night and day, and they're covering all this territory and all that stuff. Make it a situation that exists, and we're wrapped up into what's going on between these three people for the night. And make that episode mean something, because when you start to get into these characters more, then the kind of what happens and the actions are sort of just like they're sort of a side seat to what you really care about, and it's the characters. You want to watch these people on the screen. So I'm with you, man. I don't need it to connect and try to build up to. It doesn't need to be a show full of foreshadowing. The last thing we need is this to just be like, oh, Lord of the Rings again. No, I want this to feel like the Rings of Power. Yes, again, it needs to have connective tissue. If this does something to show you like the creation of the rings and things like that, that'd be great. Oh, that'd be cool. I'm not fully versed on the original source material as far as reading the Tolkien stuff, but I definitely love the movies. I had my fun with the Hobbit films, but they're nothing compared to the Lord of the Ring trilogy. Like, no question. So yes, agreeing with you 100%, man. I hope that they do it to where it's something that is just a solid story, almost something that even if you haven't seen the original movies, to make you want to go see those movies, because this is such good storytelling. So we'll see. I mean, I have to believe they're spending that much money on it. It's going to be something. It's going to be worth something. So back to Nope. We know that Jordan Peele is definitely a good horror director. He was the surprise hit director that came out of nowhere, who was a comedy guy. And I say came out of nowhere, meaning as a horror director. Key and Peele was huge over here in the States, and still is. I mean, it definitely is one of those shows that's gone down and is like, oh yeah, it's got classic sketches like the AA Ron. That's an awesome sketch. You done messed up, Aaron. Or my buddy as Maniac, he likes it when he's like, "What kind of a name is that?" Blake. That's a good part too. But the fact that Jordan Peele just busted out of nowhere making Get Out, which was a phenomenal movie in my opinion. Like Get Out is an excellent, excellent film. I was a little disappointed with Us. I enjoyed the ride until it started getting towards the end, and once you started sort of seeing what this was about and what he was trying to do with it, to me, like the last 20 minutes, like once you find out the end, personally, it kind of ruined the movie, in my opinion. I don't think that it was a bad movie by any means. I think it was well made, and I like it. You know, it was creepy leading up to it, and it was well shot. I love the scene with the family that the twin girls and all that stuff, and they go crazy and all that. I mean, that whole scene in the condo when they start killing, that's good. Um, but the ending of it, it was just a little. It was too vague, in my opinion. I don't feel like it kind of, and again, I'm not dogging on it because it's well made and I enjoy it. I own it, but it just wasn't compared to Get Out. Get Out was really, really original. I was blown away by it. Once I saw what was going on, I was even more creeped out. It wasn't like in Us, once you see what's going on, you're kind of like, hmm. When I watched Get Out, and once I saw what was going on, I was like, ew. So I'm hoping that this Nope movie does that because it's got a lot of the same people. It's got Daniel Kaluuya, who was in Get Out. And it's got Keke Palmer, which she's in a bunch of stuff. And they're all looking up in the sky. To what though? Is it like some sort of alien thing going on? Now, this whole time, I didn't know if it was aliens or not. And you look at this right here, there's a cloud. So, of course, everybody's speculating. Let's see, we got some comments up here. Okay, real quick, as Maniac says, he's like not seeing Get Out. He's like, he should watch it. Yeah, you definitely should watch that. Definitely should watch Get Out. Us, I wouldn't. Us, you'll be curious to watch because Get Out is good. But then when you watch Us, just to me, it was just could have been because it's hard to follow up after Get Out being just so original and really cool idea. But I feel like Jordan Peele is one of those guys that it's kind of like M. Night Shyamalan with me. I don't think he makes bad movies. Like Us wasn't a bad movie. There's no, I have a review of it that I did. It's not bad. It just didn't hold up to Get Out for me. I think Get Out it just blew me away. But I'd rather him take a chance with Us. I'd rather him do such original things to where it's like, cool, dude, keep taking chances because that's what I respect about M. Night. M. Night makes movies and he doesn't really care what people think. He makes movies that he feel like he wants to make. And for one thing, there's one thing you could say about M. Night. If you like him or don't like him, you can definitely tell that there's not studio meddling. You can definitely tell it's his stuff because there can't be studio meddling. He pays for his own movies. I don't know if you guys knew that, but M. Night, all of his own movies, he funds them with his own money. So that's part of the reason that he's able to kind of consistently do what he wants to do in the industry because he makes his own movies. So any of the money made, yeah, he uses companies to help him distribute it and things like that. But for the most part, he funds all of his own movies, which that's pretty awesome if you ask me. Look at some of these comments right here. Andrew says, you feel like Peele is painting himself into a M. Night Shyamalan corner. Yeah, that everything has to have a weird twist. Yeah, I mean, dude, you're speaking my mind. Literally, like he's talented enough to not have to resort to gimmicks every time, which kind of brings me back to my whole thing of it doesn't have to be so complicated with like the Lord of the Rings thing. Like, and the same goes with Jordan Peele. It doesn't have to be with this like twisty, bendy, and then like blow your mind away. It could just get you wrapped up into a situation and make you tensed out. Like you really feel like one of the things that works so well about that movie Frozen, and again, not the Disney one, the one that where they get stuck on the ski lift directed by Adam Green. I just did a review of it. Um, and they get stuck in this blizzard and they're stuck up there and it's so simple and it's so locked into this one setting for mostly the entire time, but you nail by it. It's hard to watch at some point, and it's not even that gory or anything. It's just so tense. And I feel like if they do something like this, that would work, you know? I think they need to just simplify it. Don't try to twist it up, just like Andrew said. Um, yeah, and then I got a couple other people in here just talking about facts, and then like uh, oh, as Maniac says, funds his own stuff like the weekend at Super Bowl. Yeah, right. No kidding. Which that's a whole other conversation right there. But yeah, he definitely funds his own movies, and so you can tell that there's no studio meddling. And I feel like that Jordan Peele, I don't think there's studio meddling in those movies. I feel like you can tell that it's him trying to do something artistic. And look, I have to say again, I want that. I appreciate that rather than just trying to make something cookie cutter. However, with that being said, just like Andrew said a second ago, doing a twist, kind of like M. Night, is like this cookie cutter thing. Like M. Night now has put himself into this corner to where if there's not a twist in an M. Night movie, I think everybody's going to be mad. You need a twist somehow, but not necessarily. You could just make a good movie. I think that's where Glass faulted too much. He tried to put all these twists in the end that just were like, eh. Glass could have been good, but it wasn't. As Maniac comes in and says the Saw movie suffered with the endings after part 3. I agree. Saw 1 through 3 are actually not a bad trilogy. Saw, the first one, being actually the best and way better than part 2 and 3. But I still think that 1 through 3 are actually a trilogy that works. After that, it's like the Friday the 13th movies. They're fun to watch and they're for their own reasons. Put them on at Halloween parties and stuff like that. But it's not like, man, did you see Saw 6? Wow, that was a great movie. It's the same thing with the Friday the 13th. By the time you get to part 5 and 6, while you have fun with them, you're not sitting there saying that they're good. They're no part 4, the final chapter, which is the best Friday the 13th out there as far as Jason's concerned. He's not even in the first one. Yeah. So also, one of the things that I've always liked about his movies is that you have no clue what's going on. And this one, like, what the hell is this? God, that looks terrifying. Like, what is that? Now, I'm thinking aliens because there's also this shot right here. Or is it monsters? Or is there, some sort of chemical plant that something went wrong? Or, who knows? Because it shows that they're like out in the middle of this like California area. And all of his movies also seem to kind of take place in the same area, kind of the way that like John Hughes did. Man, I got something. Oh, there we go. My hat's bugging me on that side. Kind of like the way John Hughes did with having all the movies be in the Midwest. Like all of his movies, like Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Uncle Buck, all that stuff. They were all like right in the Chicago-y area, all on that spot. And I feel like Jordan Peele's movies all sort of take place in the same area, thus far, at least. As Maniac says, looks like acid rain. What looks like acid rain to you? This right here? Saying it's acid rain doing it to the town? But yeah, like, what's this, though? What's this fist bump right here? And that's the thing. Is he giving him a fist bump? Just being like, what up, dog? Regardless of what it is, it looks like something's happening coming from the sky. And there's a scene in the trailer where people get sucked up. So I'm just excited, honestly, just to see what it is. And it needs to be something good. But the marketing's good with the Nope movies. The trailers are always really good. And there's a tone to Jordan Peele stuff that really works well. It's got a very uncomfortable, ominous tone to it. And remember, he didn't write Candyman and do all that stuff. He just produced it. So he didn't direct that or anything. He was just a producer. But this is all him. This is his third actual film. So as Maniac says, a Shaq fist bump. That's funny. Well, regardless, I'm looking forward to it. I think that it's going to be worth watching just because even though I wasn't satisfied with Us like I was satisfied with Get Out, still wasn't a bad movie and I still enjoyed it and it was still creative. And I'm always looking forward to seeing what Jordan Peele is going to do and what kind of message and he's trying to push with his movies, because he always is. That's just part of his deal, and that's part of what I like about him. Anyways, guys, also, if you hadn't done so, and I meant to do this at the beginning, subscribe, hit that button. Just got to do that real quick. I think that's kind of fun. But that's going to do it, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for listening to me rant about the trailers a little bit. I got a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 trailer breakdown tomorrow because that movie's coming out this weekend. So I'm going to watch that, and there'll be a review about that this weekend. I got a lot to say about that one right there. But overall, hopefully it's good. But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you hadn't done so already. Look for my Late Court trailer for that horror movie I got working coming out with my buddy Andrew. And also, hey, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh popcorns. Peace. See you guys. Adios.